15 perfect vegetables you didn't know thrive in a shady garden. Hey there, garden dreamers and green thumb souls. Welcome back to Earthly Delights, where we turn small spaces, dim corners, and even forgotten patches of shade into living sanctuaries. If you've ever looked at your yard, balcony, or indoor garden and thought, it's just too shady for vegetables, today's video is going to change the way you see light forever. See, many of us live in apartments surrounded by tall buildings, have fenced backyards, or cozy gardens tucked under trees. Some of you are working long hours, only able to tend your plants in the cool of the evening. Others might be seniors who prefer to garden in softer light where the sun doesn't sting your skin. But here's the truth. Shade isn't a problem. It's an opportunity waiting to be planted. In this video, we'll explore 15 perfect vegetables you didn't know could thrive in the shade. These are crops that don't just survive, they flourish where the sunlight fades. By the end, you'll see that your shady garden might be the most peaceful, productive space you've ever grown. So grab your gloves, take a deep breath of green life, and let's begin this journey together. And if you love discovering new ways to make your garden thrive, no matter where you live, hit subscribe and ring the bell so you'll never miss a moment here on Earthly Delights. Part 1, Spinach, the sweetness of soft light. When most people picture spinach, they imagine it basking under full sunshine. But here's a little secret every shade gardener should know. Spinach actually prefers calm, cool corners. Too much heat or harsh light makes it bolt, shooting up flowers and turning its tender leaves bitter. But when you give it partial shade, just 3 or 4 hours of soft, indirect sunlight, it transforms. The leaves stay lush, silky, and naturally sweet, like nature's way of rewarding patience. Picture a quiet patch under a tree canopy, or a narrow strip beside your fence where light drifts through in dappled waves. That's spinach heaven. Its roots don't ask for much, just well-drained, moist soil and a gentle hand with the watering can. Within 3 short weeks, you'll start snipping baby leaves for salads, smoothies, or sandwiches. And here's the beauty. The more you harvest, the more it gives. Cut the outer leaves, and the plant quietly regenerates from the center, offering you meal after meal. For busy urban gardeners or those with tiny shaded patios, spinach is a humble yet powerful reminder that growth doesn't need spotlight to flourish. It thrives in quiet persistence, just like many of us do. So if your garden sits in the shadows, don't see it as a setback. Part 2, lettuce, your living salad bar in the shade. Now let's talk about one of the easiest, most satisfying plants you can grow when the sun just won't shine. Lettuce. Many new gardeners think lettuce demands constant sunlight, but in truth, it loves a little cover. In full sun, it wilts, turns bitter, and bolts almost overnight. Yet under partial shade, something magical happens. It slows down, stays crisp, and develops that mild, buttery sweetness we all crave in a fresh salad. Imagine a shaded patio or a balcony corner where sunlight filters gently through leaves or curtains. That's where lettuce feels at home. You can sow a mix of butterhead, oak leaf, and red lettuce together for a beautiful patchwork of colors and textures. Every few days, snip a handful of leaves and they'll grow right back, turning your garden into a living salad bar that renews itself again and again. For apartment dwellers with small spaces or gardeners who enjoy quick rewards, lettuce is your perfect match. It doesn't rush, it simply thrives quietly, giving you beauty and nourishment all season long. And if you pair it with taller plants like tomatoes or beans, they'll cast just enough shade to protect your lettuce during hot days. So next time you glance at that dim corner you thought was useless, think again. Part 3, kale, the cool weather warrior that loves the shade. If lettuce is the gentle spirit of your shade garden, then kale is its quiet warrior. This leafy powerhouse doesn't mind the shadows. In fact, it thrives in them. While many plants crave full sun to feel alive, kale grows stronger, sweeter, and softer in cooler shaded spots. Too much heat makes its leaves tough and bitter, but under dappled light, they stay tender and full of life. Kale is perfect for anyone who wants a garden that practically takes care of itself. Whether you're a busy parent, a retiree seeking peaceful routines, or someone tending a few pots on a shaded balcony, kale will reward you with months of steady harvest. All it asks for is rich soil and regular watering. No fancy fertilizers, no constant attention. As you pick the lower leaves, new ones keep unfurling above, each greener and fuller than the last. And here's something magical. When cool nights arrive or a gentle frost touches those leaves, the flavor deepens, turning mild and sweet, almost like nature's own seasoning. It's a vegetable that proves resilience can be beautiful. In the soft light of morning or the calm shade of afternoon, kale reminds us that growth doesn't always come from chasing the brightest sun. Sometimes it blooms quietly where few others dare to grow. Part 4. Swiss chard, the artist that paints your shade garden. If kale is the warrior, then Swiss chard is the artist. Bold, colorful, and effortlessly elegant. Its stems glow in shades of ruby red, golden yellow, coral pink, and pure white, lighting up even the dimmest corners of your garden like stained glass in morning dew. But it's not just beauty you're growing. This plant is a quiet overachiever that thrives where others fade. Swiss chard loves partial shade. Around 4 to 5 hours of soft light each day is plenty. In return, it gives you lush, tender leaves that stay juicy and mild, even when the weather warms up. That shade you once thought was a limitation? It's what keeps chard from wilting, letting it flourish long after other greens have given up. You can harvest the outer leaves again and again, and the plant keeps producing, making it one of the most generous vegetables you'll ever grow. What's even better is how it transforms your meals. The leaves are perfect for sautés and soups, while the colorful stems add a crunch and brightness that feel like sunshine on your plate. For gardeners who want both beauty and bounty, Swiss chard is the heart of a shade garden. Proof that even in low light, color, nourishment, and joy can still burst into life. Part 5. Arugula, the peppery soul that softens in the shade. Next, let's wander into the world of arugula, that fiery, peppery green that can transform even the simplest salad into something extraordinary. Most people assume its bold flavor comes from the sun, but here's the twist. Arugula's best taste is born in the shade. When grown in softer light, it loses its harsh edge and becomes smoother, more refined, and perfectly balanced. It's like the difference between shouting and whispering. Both have power, but one draws you in. Arugula loves those cool, dappled areas that many gardeners overlook, beneath taller plants, near fences, or along shady patios. With just 3 or 4 hours of indirect sunlight, it grows fast and full, ready to harvest in just a few short weeks. You can pick the young leaves while they're still tender, and they'll keep coming back, giving you a steady supply of fresh greens without the rush or stress of constant replanting. For busy gardeners or those who love quick results, arugula is pure joy. Sprinkle the seeds every couple of weeks and you'll always have new leaves sprouting. Toss them on pizzas, blend them into pesto, or layer them on sandwiches for a burst of garden fresh flavor. Arugula reminds us that sometimes when we step out of the harsh light and into gentler shade, we find balance. And that's when growth truly becomes delicious. Part 6. Peas, the gentle climbers, that blossom in cool shade. Now let's talk about one of the sweetest surprises in any shaded garden. Peas. You might picture them climbing under bright sunshine, but in truth, peas adore the cool calm of partial shade. Too much heat makes them struggle, yet under softer light, they stretch gracefully, bloom longer, and fill your garden with delicate white flowers and crisp green pods that taste like spring itself. Peas are perfect for those tucked away spots beside sheds, fences, or even balcony railings. Give them a simple trellis or a few strings to climb, and they'll reward you with beauty and flavor in equal measure. Just 4 to 5 hours of gentle light a day is enough to keep them happy. And the best part? Peas aren't just feeding you, they're feeding your soil too. Their roots release nitrogen, enriching the earth for whatever you plant next. Whether you're a beginner with a few pots or a lifelong gardener nurturing your backyard, peas teach patience and gratitude. They don't rush, they don't demand, they simply grow, slowly, gracefully. And when you finally snap open a pod and taste that first sweet crunch, you'll understand what makes them so special. In the shaded stillness of your garden, peas remind us that the sweetest things often grow in the gentlest light. Part 7. Beets, the hidden jewels beneath the shade. Let's move from the vines above to the treasures hidden below. The humble yet radiant beet. Many gardeners believe root crops demand full sunlight, but beets are quietly content in partial shade. In fact, they often grow better there. Without the stress of harsh light, their roots stay tender and sweet, and their leafy tops remain vibrant and lush, offering you a double harvest, one below the soil and one above it. Beets are perfect for those cooler, dimmer corners of your garden where other vegetables hesitate. With just 4 or 5 hours of indirect sunlight, they'll form deep ruby or golden bulbs that taste earthy and rich. Their greens, too, are edible, soft, slightly tangy, and packed with nutrients. So when you grow beets, you're really growing 2 crops in one space. Plant the seeds directly into loose, moist soil, and thin the seedlings early so each root has room to breathe. You'll notice their colors deepening as they grow. Crimson, gold, even striped varieties that look like candy when sliced. It's as if the shade gives them permission to slow down, to mature gracefully, without rush or bitterness. Beets remind every gardener that beauty isn't just what blooms in the sun. Sometimes it's what quietly takes shape beneath the surface, hidden but full of life. Part 8. Carrots, the sweet rewards of slow growing in the shade. Now let's dig a little deeper into the world of carrots. Most people picture them basking under bright sunshine, but here's the beautiful truth. Carrots don't need full sun to become sweet and crisp. In fact, a touch of shade can make them taste even better. When grown in cooler, softer light, they mature slowly, developing a richer, gentler flavor that feels almost honeyed when you bite into it. Carrots love patience. Give them loose, stone-free soil and 4 to 6 hours of dappled light a day, and they'll quietly stretch their roots downward, forming perfect orange, purple, or yellow treasures. They're ideal for gardeners who enjoy watching things unfold in their own time. The kind of people who find joy in daily watering and subtle change. And here's a secret delight. Carrot tops are edible too. They carry a parsley-like freshness that can turn into a vibrant pesto or add depth to a soup. So when you pull a carrot from the soil, you're not just harvesting a root, you're uncovering a whole story of patience, nourishment, and balance. Growing carrots in shade is like growing contentment. Slow, sweet, and deeply rewarding for anyone who knows that good things take time. Part 9. Radishes, the fast little victories that thrive in the shadows. If carrots teach us patience, then radishes remind us of instant joy. They're the sprinters of the gardening world. Quick to grow, quick to reward, and full of life even in places where sunlight barely lingers. With just 3 or 4 hours of gentle light each day, radishes can go from seed to harvest in as little as 3 weeks. For new gardeners or anyone craving a small, early win, there's no better choice. In partial shade, radishes grow smoother and milder, avoiding that harsh spiciness they sometimes develop under strong sun. You can plant them along fences, beneath taller crops, or even in narrow pots by your doorstep. Their crisp, colorful roots are perfect for tossing into salads or eating straight from the soil, still cool and earthy from the shade. But here's something many gardeners overlook. Those leafy tops, they're edible too. Lightly sautéed with olive oil and garlic, they turn into a surprisingly rich, peppery side dish. It's proof that even a humble plant can give more than you expect. Radishes are a celebration of small triumphs, of watching green shoots break through the soil and realizing that growth doesn't need grandeur to be meaningful. In your shady garden, they whisper a simple truth. Success often starts small, but it shines just as bright, even without the sun. Part 10. Broccoli. Rabe, the bold gourmet, and that loves the cool shade. Next, we meet a vegetable with a little attitude. Broccoli rabe, or rapini as some call it. It's not your typical garden green. With tender leaves, slender stems, and small clusters that look like baby broccoli, it carries a bold, nutty flavor that chefs adore. But here's what most gardeners don't realize. Broccoli rabe absolutely thrives in partial shade. Too much sun makes it bolt early, robbing you of that perfect harvest, while cooler, dimmer light keeps it growing strong and flavorful. This plant loves a calm environment. 4 or 5 hours of indirect light is enough to keep it happy. In return, it rewards you with continuous harvests of tender greens and buds that taste as though they came straight from a rustic Italian kitchen. It's ideal for gardeners who want something different, something that feels both homegrown and gourmet. Imagine picking those deep green leaves, giving them a quick sauté with olive oil, garlic, and a squeeze of lemon. It's pure, vibrant simplicity. Broccoli rabe isn't just food, it's an experience, a bridge between the garden and the table. And in the shade, it finds its rhythm, slow, flavorful, and deeply satisfying. It reminds us that not all brilliance shines brightly. Some of it grows quietly, in places where the light is just enough. Part 11. Bok choy, the graceful green that shines without the sun. Now let's turn to one of the most elegant vegetables you can grow. Bok choy. With its smooth white stems and glossy green leaves, it looks like something from a chef's garden, sculpted by nature itself. But what makes bok choy truly special is how effortlessly it thrives in partial shade. In full sun, it tends to bolt, racing toward flowers and losing its tenderness. Yet in the soft light of shade, it grows slowly, gracefully, producing crisp stems and silky leaves that stay mild and juicy. For those who garden on balconies or in small sheltered courtyards, bok choy is a dream. It only needs about 4 hours of light a day, and within a month you'll be harvesting. You can cut the outer leaves and let the center regrow, or pull a whole head when it's ready. Either way, it gives generously. It's also one of the most versatile vegetables in the kitchen. The young leaves are tender enough for salads, while the mature stalks hold up beautifully in soups and stir-fries. When you grow bok choy in shade, you're not just cultivating a plant, you're cultivating calm. It's a vegetable that doesn't rush, that reminds you gardening isn't a race against time or sun, but a dance with rhythm and patience. Part 12. Mizuna, the frilly green that dances in the dim light. Now let's welcome a hidden gem from the mustard family, Mizuna. With its feathery leaves and gentle curves, it brings an airy, graceful texture to any garden bed. Many gardeners overlook it, thinking it's too delicate to handle shade, but that's exactly where Mizuna shines. In dappled or filtered light, it grows fast, lush, and beautifully balanced, without the sharp bite that full sun can bring. Mizuna thrives with just a few hours of indirect sunlight, making it ideal for balcony boxes, under tall tomatoes, or along the edge of shaded paths. Its leaves are soft, slightly peppery, and packed with nutrients, a perfect blend of energy and elegance. Harvest it young for salads or let it mature for stir-fries and soups. Either way, it rewards you generously. For people living in apartments or caring for small gardens, Mizuna is one of those forgiving plants that never demand too much. It adapts easily, grows quickly, and keeps giving long after others fade. It's a gentle teacher in patience, showing that even in the faintest light, beauty and nourishment can flourish. With every frilly leaf, Mizuna whispers a message familiar to every gardener of heart and home. Even in the shade, life finds a way to shine. Part 13. Tatsoi, the spoonleaf green made for gentle shadows. And now let's meet one of the most charming little greens you can grow. Tatsoi. It's often called the spoonleaf plant because of its soft, rounded leaves that form perfect rosettes close to the ground. If you've ever admired a garden that looks peaceful, balanced, and almost sculptural, tatsoi is likely part of that picture. What makes it even more special is how deeply it loves the shade. Just 3 to 4 hours of indirect light a day, and this little beauty will flourish quietly, filling your pots or garden beds with deep green clusters. Tatsoi is the kind of plant that seems made for modern gardeners. Small space dwellers, balcony growers, and anyone who appreciates effortless elegance. It grows quickly, tastes mild and creamy, and can be harvested leaf by leaf or as a full rosette. Its flavor is subtle, somewhere between spinach and bok choy, and it adds a silky texture to soups, salads, and even smoothies. But beyond its flavor, tatsoi teaches something about peace, about slowing down and letting things unfold naturally. It doesn't rush, it doesn't demand attention, it simply grows in quiet grace. And perhaps that's why it feels right at home in shady gardens. It mirrors the calm, patient rhythm of gardeners who understand that good growth doesn't need the spotlight, only gentle care and time. Part 14, turnips. The dual delights of roots and greens in the shade. Now, let's dig into one of the most underestimated treasures of the cool garden. Turnips. So many gardeners overlook them, thinking they belong only in sunny fields or vast vegetable plots. But the truth is, turnips adore partial shade. When the light softens, their roots grow tender and sweet, and their greens stay young, vibrant, and full of flavor. It's like getting 2 vegetables in one: crisp, juicy bulbs below the soil and velvety greens above it. Turnips thrive in just 4 to 5 hours of gentle light a day. Shade slows their growth slightly, but that's what gives them their magic. more time for flavor to deepen and texture to soften. They're especially well-suited to gardeners who value nourishment and efficiency, offering a big return from a small space. The greens are delicious sautéed with garlic and olive oil, while the roots can be roasted until golden and caramel sweet. And for anyone who loves gardening with purpose, turnips remind us that beauty often grows beneath the surface. In a shady bed or a quiet corner, they teach patience, generosity, and renewal. You plant one seed, and in return, you're gifted a meal that feels like the warmth of home. Proof that the simplest crops can bring the greatest comfort. Part 15, Green Onions. The easy growers that brighten every shady corner. Finally, let's end with one of the most reliable and cheerful plants you can grow. Green onions, also known as scallions. They may be small, but their presence can transform a meal and a garden alike. What makes them so wonderful is their adaptability. Green onions don't mind where they live. A shady balcony, a north-facing window box, or a damp patch behind taller plants. They'll grow just fine with a few hours of indirect light each day. These slender greens are perfect for gardeners who love simplicity. You can plant them once and keep harvesting again and again. Just cut them near the base, and they'll sprout back, ready for another round. They're quick, forgiving, and endlessly useful in the kitchen, adding that fresh, crisp flavor to soups, omelets, and salads. For people who think they don't have the right light, for gardening, green onions are the gentle reassurance that yes, you can still grow your own food. They're a quiet symbol of consistency, a daily touch of green that brightens even the gloomiest spaces. In every shaded garden, they stand as proof that life finds a way, steady, simple, and full of flavor. Sometimes it's not the biggest harvests that matter most, but the small ones that return again and again, reminding us why we fell in love with growing in the first place. Turning shade into abundance, your garden's quiet magic. So now you've seen it. 15 vegetables that don't just tolerate shade, they thrive in it. From the sweetness of spinach to the color of Swiss chard, from the quick joy of radishes to the gentle strength of kale, each one proves a simple truth. A shady garden isn't a limitation, it's a sanctuary. It's a place where patience grows deeper roots, where plants and people alike learn to flourish in softer light. Maybe your garden sits behind tall buildings, under the canopy of old trees, or along a cool balcony wall. Wherever your shadows fall, there's still life waiting to bloom. You just need to choose the right plants and a little courage to start. Add rich soil, keep your watering gentle, and watch how every corner begins to hum with quiet energy. Here on Earthly Delights, we believe every gardener, beginner or seasoned, young or wise, deserves the peace and pride of growing something with their own hands. So tell me below, which of these shade-loving vegetables will you try first? I'd love to hear what you're planning for your little patch of calm. And if this inspired you, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell, because every week we'll uncover more ways to help your garden grow beautifully, no matter how much sunlight you have.